Welcome to the Leaderish Podcast, leadership lessons straight up, with your hosts, Dr. Jen and Regina. Hey, Jen, how's it going?
Hey, Regina. It's really great. I am back from vacation, straight into kind of the hell week that always comes after being on vacation.
Yes.
So I am so happy that it's Friday afternoon. The work week is mostly over, and here we are. How are you?
Jen, I'm doing great. We have received 18 five-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and another 5-star review. So we have the ratings, we have 18 of those, and we have maybe 5 or 6 of the 5-star podcast review. So I want to read this one. The title of it is Straight Talk. And it says, just listen to the MBTI episode and learned something new again from this podcast. Being in HR, I have familiarity with the assessments, but found this to be a great down-to-earth and practical refresher. This one will be on repeat. Great job, ladies. Look forward to each week to listen in and gain some insight.
That is wonderful. And because it's HR, we can maybe guess that it's somebody that we know, or maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's so exciting, though.
Yeah, it's so cool. What I love is that we are feeding women. We are helping them.
You know what's hilarious about that, or ironic, is that we intentionally tried not to make it just about women in the beginning.
Yes.
But very quickly learned that's our passion. That's what we want to talk about. And that's who we want to help. Yes. And I love that that's who's naturally listening. It just all happened very organically. And I love it.
Me too.
Yay. Well, it's now time for, of course, my favorite segment, which is the drink of the day. So, and Regina always laughs every time I say that. Regina, what's in your cup today?
I am back to the Sonic Unsweet tea.
It's
you know,
so
I
good.
love it. I know.
Well, and there's something incredibly refreshing about really well brewed, delicious unsweet tea. And you just took a sip right now.
And Sonic does it so well.
So, Sonic, if you would like to sponsor the podcast.
Yes.
Or the drink of the day segment. I mean, I could do a cherry limeade.
Oh, so good. What are you drinking though? It's not a cherry limeade. So what is it?
It's not a cherry limeade. Today I am actually drinking coffee. Because as I said, this week kind of kicked me straight in the ass and I need my coffee. So I brewed a very fresh, piping hot cup and I put my little creamer in it and I have it in my favorite mug. And it's just making me really happy today.
And it's warm and sunny out.
I know, but I just need it desperately.
Yeah. Well, I needed my tea. So anyway, it's delicious, delicious stuff. We've had a request for another topic.
We have, which I love it. Keep the requests coming. We want to talk about what you want to hear about.
Yes. And we have our next 3 episodes planned out because of requests.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. From our listeners. We have listeners.
And they're topics that we want to talk about because they're so interesting.
Yes. And today's topic has had me reeling all week long and really realizing exactly how deep I am in this topic. Today's topic is imposter syndrome, Jen.
Same here.
Yeah. So I want to define it just a little bit before we kind of dig in case anyone's not familiar. In fact, the woman who reached out to me and asked for us to set this topic, she said, I have been mentoring women who keep bringing this up. I was not familiar with it. I've done a little research and I realize I've had this as well. And this woman is at like the vice president level. I've worked with other women at very high levels who say the same thing, that they have imposter syndrome, which is really that feeling that you haven't earned your success and that you feel like a fraud or you're not smart enough or that someone is going to find you out, that you shouldn't be doing your job because you don't know what you're doing.
Or that the success you've earned,
Oh, yes.
you don't really deserve. The big wins
Yes.
that you have, the big celebrations, awards, especially. Um, and yes, so imposter syndrome or doubting your abilities and feeling like a fraud is a diagnosis often given to women, although it's really not diagnosed like by
No.
the American Psychological Association, DSM. So anyway, it's not actually a diagnosis, but the fact that it's considered so prevalent is problematic. And it actually was, the concept has been around since the 70s. Two female researchers. I have papers everywhere. If you know me, I have them sprawled out all over my desk. There's highlighter notes everywhere. So, psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Emes developed the concept, originally termed imposter phenomenon, in their 1978 founding study, which focused on high achieving women. It tends to affect women more and high achieving women even more so. Um, and they thought that despite outstanding academic and professional accomplishments, women who experience the phenomenon persist in believing they really are not that bright and have fooled everyone who thinks otherwise. That's a direct quote from the research.
Mm.
And then I found another little paragraph that says, even famous women from Hollywood, such as Charlize Theron, Viola Davis, to business leaders such as Sheryl Sandberg, former First Lady Michelle Obama, and Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor, have confessed to experiencing that. Can you imagine that?
You would think that women at that level, at least I would think, that they wouldn't have the same problems I did.
Right, but maybe because it's high achieving women, and it's the maybe it's the more you achieve, the more you
Mm-hmm.
feel like a fraud.
Mm-hmm. I think that this is very much correlated to our self-talk, which we talked about in when we talked about positive intelligence in our
Definitely.
episode 6. And I think what happens is we have been conditioned socially and culturally that you have to be smarter, you have to be better. So you're constantly questioning your own smarts, and maybe you go for more education, or maybe you try to achieve the next milestone. But even when you get that next degree or you achieve that next milestone, you're still making excuses for why it wasn't deserved.
Exactly. I actually found some research on that talking about, why do we have imposter syndrome? Where does it come from? And why does it affect high achieving women and mostly women? And, there was some research that suggested, didn't really prove, but suggested that
Mhm.
it is because of systems set in place
Mhm.
and some biases that exist certainly in the workplace. The same systems that reward confidence in male leaders, even if they're incompetent, punish women for lacking confidence and for demonstrating confidence in a way that's deemed unacceptable. So we won't dwell on that because we want to talk about how it affects us and, maybe what you can do about it. But I did find it interesting that there may be some reasons out there why we have imposter syndrome and why we may feel that way. But the feeling is so real. The phrase that gets me is feeling like a fraud.
Mhm.
I've felt like that so many times, and I think I told you this last week or 2 weeks ago. Remind me that I have a story about hiding in the bathroom.
Yes.
So when I was my first like corporate job outside of school, I think I was still finishing my master's at the time. I was in charge of training all the training programs, most of them for a franchise system,
Mhm.
and about 2,000 franchises across the country. So once a year, the beginning of the year, for 3 months, my boss and I, or a peer and I, we would go all over the country and we would do these workshops. So got to visit really cool cities, but was also 26, 27, and felt like I had absolutely no credibility whatsoever. And I would stand in front of these conference rooms and ballrooms with 200, 250 more people, where here's 26-year-old Jen, like,
Mm.
let me tell you how you should manage your people. And what I didn't think about at the time is that I actually did have things to share that were helpful. And it didn't have to be me saying, I'm better than you at this. But at the time, I remember in Atlanta at the
Plaza.
Yes, thank
Hmm.
you. Crown Plaza Hotel in Atlanta. I had about 200 people in a conference room. And I was so terrified, not about speaking in front of people, because I'm fine with that. But it was my credibility of I'm a fraud and I have nothing to tell these people. They had their experienced business people, they own their own business, they're successful. Like, what do I have to tell them? I'm a fraud. And I literally hid in the bathroom stall until I absolutely had to walk on stage and give my presentation. And I did it terrified. I did it scared, like we
Yes, you
talked
did.
about,
You
not
did
in a
it
good
scared.
way. Not in a great way though. But that is what imposter syndrome was to me at that time. And I didn't, we've talked about like with Strengths Finder and assessments and different things before. Sometimes just having language to put to things is so helpful. And that's what it was at the time. It was imposter syndrome. I felt like a fraud. How could I possibly have any value to bring to this group of people?
Hmm. I've had similar situations, and mine are very recent. I mean, I have them regularly. If I'm being
Same.
honest and truthful with all of you who are listening, where I'll be in a room with a group of people, and my negative self talk is going, "You are not smart enough to be here. You don't have the right answer. You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't have this job. You shouldn't be doing this work." And the thing is that I know I'm good at what I do and I love what I do and I have so much passion. And sometimes that self talk, that imposter sneaks in and says, "You're a fraud. You don't deserve to be in this room with these people."
And I look at you and say, how could that be? You are all the things you just said in terms of you're great at what you do, you're passionate about what you do, and that passion comes through and you're smart and you have experience. And so I look and say, how? But in the same sense, while my example was a long time ago, and part of that had to do with experience that I didn't have,
Mm-hmm.
now I do have experience 12, 13 years later, and I still have that exact same feeling that you mentioned every week on to
Mm-hmm.
some extent. And it does go back to my self-talk.
Yeah. I did also read in an article that perfectionists tend to have more of a heightened imposter syndrome because they were raised to be extremely conscientious. And so you're constantly second guessing everything that you do because of that conscientiousness, which also is why it affects women typically more than men, although many men have it. When we are young as boys, most of the time in society, the parents aren't saying, "You need to think about others. You need to, watch what you say or watch what you do, or how do you think that made someone else feel?" Right. But for girls, that is a constant reminder as we grow up that we have to care and think about other people. And so it creates that message on replay in our brains that we need to constantly be thinking about what other people think of us
That is, I've never put all of that together, but gosh, I feel that
all the
definitely.
time.
Yeah. And I also, in one of these millions of papers that I thoughtfully organized and now can't find what I'm looking for, but one of them definitely talked about the link between perfectionism and imposter syndrome. And
Yes.
so I want to ask you, do you consider yourself a perfectionist?
Not anymore. I think I used to be. I think that I've recoined that phrase though to excellence. I think that I require excellence, but I think I've redefined excellence as not perfect.
Got it. That makes sense. And so I definitely would not call myself a perfectionist at all.
Mhm.
Um, but maybe it's the imposter syndrome that won't let me call myself a perfectionist, interestingly, because in my brain, I'm going, well, I'm not a perfectionist because definitely nothing's ever perfect. But I'm a recovering perfectionist, I think I would say, in my
Mhm.
younger days. And then I had to let go of it.
Was it because you were trying to create that credibility that you spoke of before? And so you tried to do everything perfect so that
Yes,
you could create a sense of credibility?
absolutely. That
I
is,
know that. I know that feeling. That is exactly, and it just dawned on me, that is exactly how I was for the first probably 15 years of my career, making everything perfect so that I could be credible.
yeah, I definitely. Oh gosh. I remember, younger, especially when I would go on these trips because I didn't feel that I had credibility. I would buy like this whole new outfit and wardrobe for
I did the same thing.
every trip I would go on. I mean, now sometimes when you have a big presentation, it's just fun and to, build confidence and make yourself feel good. And I'm fully supportive of that.
Yes.
But I focused on it so much that I had to have, my nails done perfectly, my hair and my wardrobe and my outfit. I think because I wanted like, look at me, I'm really put together. I have credibility because I felt that I didn't have it.
Yes. So you used the external view of you to build that credibility. And it also did give you confidence too. So don't undermine that. I mean, Nicole, one of my dearest friends, every time we would have to go to Reston, Virginia for a group meeting, we would both go shopping, and her in Florida, me in Nashville, and we would send each other pictures of what we were buying because we shopped at the same store, and we wanted to make sure we didn't have the same outfits, but we almost wanted to make sure that we coordinated a little bit and that we were the height of fashion during those
Oh
meetings.
my God, I love it. And this has nothing to do with imposter syndrome, but I have to know what store it was.
Ann Taylor and Ann Taylor Loft.
Me too. How did I know you were going to say that?
That is now, Ann Taylor Loft is a little too casual now,
Yeah.
but back then, Ann Taylor Loft was the perfect
Yes.
median between ultra professional and cool casual. Like it was right there in the middle.
And mine was Ann Taylor because we were a very formal
Mm-hmm.
company. And so you had to wear a suit. And
Yes.
so I mean, do you know how we did not have the money to be buying like brand new suits every
Yes.
time I went out on these workshops, but we did it anyway. That's
Absolutely.
so funny. Of
Yes.
all the places I did not expect this conversation to go, it was here, but it's so true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now in my career, now that I do have some experience, now that I do feel a little bit more comfortable, I'm not near as concerned about what I wear, but those thoughts still seep into my brain. And
Mm-hmm.
when they say feel like a fraud or everybody's going to find me out, like word for word, that has
Yes.
gone through my head before and then when you hear about imposter syndrome and you see it and you go, yes, me too. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not the only fraud out there. It's that in itself is kind of validating.
So we validated that. We all, or most of us, maybe not all of us, but there are a lot of us out there that at some point in time feel like a fraud, like we should not be in that room. How do we fix it, Jen? How do we move from feeling like a fraud, our negative self talk overwhelming us, to feeling confident and empowered?
So I did find some information on this. And I love that you asked me that, like assuming that I would know anything about that. But I did the research. So I do know that.
Of course, I know that. I know you would know.
So I actually found a woman who specializes, she's I think a PhD or an EDD, and she specializes in imposter syndrome. I don't know if you also found her as well. And her name is Valerie Young.
Okay.
So Valerie Young is she focuses on imposter syndrome. I think her website is actually impostersyndrome.com.
Ooh.
And she does have some steps. She has a really good TED Talk, actually. If you just Google Valerie Young TED Talk, her 8-minute video on imposter syndrome will pop up. And she has 10 steps. And especially what you can do as a leader to support your team as well. Some of the research, there's two main things I think you can do, three, I guess. One is just to simply talk about it, admit it, talk to other people about it. It's not this thing you're hiding anymore.
I had to do that last night with you.
Yes,
That
yes.
really happened.
Yeah, we had a
Mhm.
full conversation about it, and
Yes.
it was a really great conversation. And so saying it, and I actually had this exact same experience with anxiety years ago. And so not hiding it, but saying, I feel like a fraud, or I'm feeling like I'm not worthy. I don't deserve this. Having someone trusted to talk to about it and just get it out, get it
Yes.
out and let it out there. And hopefully you can begin to let it go. Another thing was, and this made me think of our conversation with Sarah around just do it scared, like I did when I
Right.
went on that stage a million years ago, is kind of the whole fake it till you make it mindset of just move through your fear, just move through your thoughts enough to where, which I mean, if we've had these thoughts forever, we're regularly doing that. But if we're talking about it before, and then you're factually going through why you actually do deserve to have a seat at the table, and instead of talking about why you don't deserve to be there, talk about why you do to a trusted friend or mentor, that can help you move right through it and
Mhm.
show up more confident than you might have if you just held it in
Right.
and went into that presentation or meeting or whatever with those feelings unaddressed.
Yeah, and that's what helped me even last night. I was stuck in an imposter syndrome loop. My negative self-talk and my pleaser was kind of going nuts, and I had to get it out. So, I mean, I was sitting UIMs at like 8 p.m. and I got all of my feelings out, and I was actually able to sleep because I did that, which was very helpful. Finding that trusted person
Yes.
is, and someone that you can talk to and share with, who's not going to judge you and not try to tell you, oh, that's not legitimate. Those feelings aren't legitimate, because they are. They're your feelings. But someone who will help you work through those and get it out there so you're not internalizing it. Huge help.
Definitely. And I mean, just imagine it's what we've been doing before we kind of realize this. Every time you bury it and you go into the situation having those feelings, for me anyway, I feel like they just build.
Yeah.
They just build. And then I'm constantly feeling, God, somebody's going to realize that I'm terrible at some point, and that's how it builds. But if you get it out, kind of rationalize a little bit and go forward. Another thing that in the TED Talk that she mentions, somebody asked the question, as leaders, what can you do if you have people on your team that may be feeling this way, whether you
Mm-hmm.
realize it or not? And it was really, of course, about creating a culture, a safe culture where people can share kind of fears or concerns
Yeah.
about work or whatever. And she said something really simple and seemingly small, is that you as a leader can talk about it. And she said the phrase kind of offhandedly, intentionally, to your team. Like if they bring a concern, oh, that's just imposter syndrome, you're really great at that, and kind of giving it a name and acknowledging it and allowing the conversation to happen, that can be impactful for your team as well.
Wow, that is very helpful, especially a leader of a team. And I do have several women who
Yeah,
report to me. I actually never thought about talking about this with my team and the
it's the
women.
number one play. If you feel it, they may be likely to feel it. And
Yeah.
so gosh, what an empowering place to have that conversation is to have
Yeah.
your leader say, gosh, even I feel it sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think that I very intentionally try to build my team up. Like
Oh,
I'm
yes.
very intentional about telling them when they do a really great job or they've had a really big impact or the value that I've seen or a positive change that I've seen. I am really good at that because I want to build their confidence. But sometimes I think what I just learned is I've got to call out the elephant in the room.
Yeah. And we don't do that. Like
No.
corporate cultures really, now we've come a long way in, what we're talking about and sharing and how we're being supportive. And I don't mean at our company, I just mean corporate America in general. But that's something that's still not done a lot is tell me how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if you say, tell me how you feel, nobody's ever going to be like, oh, actually, I'm feeling like a fraud. Do you want to talk about that? Like,
Yeah. Even if I am, I'm probably not going to say that.
one thing that I thought was it's so stupid simple, but when she said it in the video, I was like, oh, yeah, okay. She said, really, the only difference between those that feel like frauds and those that don't is they simply think in different ways, which goes back to the self talk.
Mm-hmm.
It's all your thoughts. Like someone else is doing similar work, but not feeling like a fraud. The only difference is our feelings of inadequacy. And so then it gets into how do you change that, which is what we just talked about. But she gave another example that I really, really relate to, where someone was asked to build a presentation and to deliver a big presentation kind of last minute.
Mm-hmm.
And she walked off the stage and said to Valerie, or Valerie said to her, gosh, you nailed it. What a great job. And her response was, oh, that was just a bunch of BS I threw together at the last minute, instead of thank you. And so part of it's how
Wow.
we act, it's internal self-talk, but part of it is how we accept and receive compliments, awards, all of those things as well.
Well, let's talk about one thing that our listeners can do in the next 24 hours. I think I have an idea.
Go for it.
I think if you are listening right now, in the next 24 hours, you need to figure out who your trusted peer or friend is, that when you are feeling like an imposter, you can reach out to them and talk about it.
I love that. Yeah. And it sounds so simple, but it's being intentional about it. And it's so important. And I would also add, if you are a leader of people, even a parent, it talks about that a lot as
Yeah.
well. Make space for your team, your children, your family, but especially as a leader, your team to be able to share when they're maybe not feeling like they did a great job. And you, as their leader, can help them navigate. Is that really an area you need to coach them in? And maybe they do need some development, or are they a rock star? And that is straight up imposter syndrome. And you just need to make space for them to let that out.
Right. I
I
love
love
it.
it.
That's great.
Awesome. We just said that in stereo.
Of course.
Our next segment, which is another favorite, they're all my favorite, called Fill Your Cup, which is, as a leader, what are you doing to take care of yourself so that you can take care of others? Regina, what, you look like you're bursting with excitement to share this. So what are you doing to fill your cup right now?
I am bursting with excitement because okay, that when we first started with this, you had shared that one of your fill your cups was that you actually got to go to a meeting, like you got out of your house, you listened to the radio. I really just listened to podcasts and talk radio and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
And so because of that, I've been listening to more music in the car.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And I've been listening to the Garth channel on XM radio. Oh my gosh. I love it. Because I love Garth Brooks.
Me too.
I love all of his music. I can sing almost every song
Have
and
you
I
seen him
belt it
live?
out. I have. No, I have. Yeah. I saw him at the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, I did
life.
too when I was maybe 16.
Yeah, this was just a few years ago. My husband and I went to see him at the Grand Ole Opry. That was pretty cool. It was an extended Grand Ole Opry show.
Oh, fun.
So the one thing that I have learned though is that Garth plays a lot of Pink and Lady Gaga. I mean, you want to talk about girl power? He is all about the girl power. And if you have not checked out that station on Sirius XM, if you have it, you've got to check it out.
So you mentioned something about the Garth channel, and I can't remember what you said, but I haven't checked it out, but I'm going to. But that is so surprising. I guess I thought it would be all like live Garth shows or something.
No, it's his playlist. And you would be so surprised by how many empowered women he has on his playlist.
That is, oh, I love that. All right, I'm going to listen to it. And I'm glad you're listening to music because, again, it's something that I'm just not doing a lot of right now because I'm not in my car very much. And it makes such a difference in your day.
So, Jen, what are you doing to fill your cup?
Well, last week, even though I said this week was hell week, it was still a good week, just really busy. But last week, Tom and I went to the beach and it was our first vacation, with the pandemic and over a year, first week vacation and probably a year and a half or more. And it was absolutely phenomenally wonderful. We were both vaccinated. And so we didn't have to, be afraid of kind of where we were going and what we were doing, although we were still careful. But the beach was empty and it was Tom and me and my books. And I laid on the beach, smelled the salty air, felt the ocean breeze, read books, and it was heavenly. I highly recommend it.
It's life-giving.
The ocean is life-giving.
It is. They say it's the ions in the salt.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, now I need to go
sick and go stand on a beach and feel so much better because of the ions in salt.
So now I just need to go to a salt cave.
Oh, those are lovely too. We have one near me.
Wonder if they would let me bring a beverage with an umbrella.
No.
Dang.
Jen, tell them how they can contact us if it's their first time listening.
Yes. And we actually would love to hear from you.
Yes. Please.
Reach out to Regina, reach out to me, and find us at leaderishpodcast@gmail.com. Please send us an email. Also find us at Leaderish Podcast on Instagram, Leaderish Podcast on Facebook, and then you can find it from there. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find it. But I don't really need to say that because they're already listening to it.
Right.
So yeah, you can scratch that last part, but you can list. You can find us on Gmail, Instagram, and Facebook at Leaderish Podcast.
And we haven't got an email in a really long time. I really want an email.
I know. Somebody send us one.
gmail.com.
Yes.
Please send us an email. I want an email.
Me too. All right. Well, that is a wrap for today. So, Regina, let's cheers to stepping into our experience